Eternity Changers. Thank you so much for joining us again. We are in Galatians chapter 5, verses 13 through 15, as we continue our verse-by-verse study. If you haven't checked any of the other ones out, start at the beginning of Galatians and just start going through as they build off of each other, because it's going through everything that he's talking about. So, in Galatians chapter 5, verse 13, it says, "For you, brethren, have been called to liberty," or freedom. "Only do not use your liberty as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another." Now, check this out. Picture this. You're driving down the road and you see a display in someone's yard. You see a display of the Ten Commandments. What do you think? As a Christian, I personally look at that and go, wow, that's a God-fearing person or a family. And I'm reminded of how wonderful the law is. It's teaching us what God's best is for us, right? Picture this. Picture an unsaved person drives by the same display. Do you think, what word do you think might come to their mind to describe the people in that house? Do you think freedom is one of the words that they would use? Probably not. They probably wouldn't come up with the word, wow, look at that family, they're so free. Because that's what the world tells us. The world tells us that Christianity is all of these rules and laws, you gotta do's and don'ts and whatnot. But here's the true thing with freedom. And the thing we don't understand a lot of times, everyone is capable of sin, right? There's not like a permission slip we need. It's we sin and we fall into sin all the time. But true freedom, the freedom that God's talking about, is freedom to not sin, the freedom to say no, the freedom to walk away. And it goes one step further. So yes, it's the freedom to say no, but it's also now the freedom to say, yes, I want to love that person. I want to show God's love to that person. Now, I want to encourage you, everyone who's watching this video, over the next 7 days, pray about it. Ask God to show you at least one person that you can show them God's love through service. That's what it says. But through love, serve one another. Find someone, something that they physically have a need, and try and fulfill it. Try and help them mow their grass, take out their trash, whatever it might be. These are just silly things, but find what someone's need is and try to fulfill those needs. To say, I love you, and more than that, God loves you. Okay, next verse, verse 14. It says, "For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself." So Jesus, when he came, he did not come to destroy the law, but he actually came to fulfill the law, every little bit of it. And it's all wrapped up in one word, love. It's not a list of all these things, these rules and do's and don'ts. How can the Jews of the Old Testament, they followed these 613 do's and don'ts, and new situation comes. Oh, let me check my list. Is that? Nope. Oh, okay. I don't have to do that. I don't have to love them. That was the problem with the Samaritan. Remember, the Good Samaritan. We had the person who is hurt, and all these other people come by and they don't help him until the Good Samaritan comes by and helps. The other people that came by were religious people, and they were looking at their do's and don'ts, and they're like, I don't have to right now, you know? And this is the point. Love. Look at the situation God's put you in today, put you in right now, put you in an hour from now. How can I show God's love to these people? And it might look different in the different situations, but ask God. Verse 15, this is the last one of our section. It says, "But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you be consumed by one another." Question, who is Paul writing this letter to? Believers, to the churches of Galatia, right? He is writing to believers. Believers could be biting and devouring one another. And it happens all the time, where we look at one group and say, "Oh, they have that instrument and they're singing, they're of the devil. They say these things in their prayers, that's terribly wrong." We need to try to find, how can we love other believers? It's one thing if they don't love Jesus, if he is not God to them. But it's another thing if the version of the Bible they read out of it isn't the same as your version. It doesn't mean they're of the devil. It means they're a believer who looks at it slightly different, and that's okay. We need to choose to love them. We need to choose to find how we can love them better. What is love? Love is fulfilling their needs. And my encouragement today to you, when you find people in your life, ask the first question, how? Maybe even ask them directly, how can I help you? What are your needs? What truly are your needs? And then you and I need to stop, and we need to pray, and we need to ask God, God, do you want me to fulfill those needs? Do you want to empower me to fulfill those needs? And it might be yes, it might be no, it might be the next person is going to do that. But we need to be sensitive to God, to the people he's put around us. Majority of the time, the people he's naturally put around us are the people he is calling us to minister to. And find out how. It doesn't mean, I think of the person on the street with the street sign that says, "I need money." That might not be the best way to serve them. Maybe it is, but maybe God has something bigger, something better for you. Think of Peter and John when they meet this guy at the gate, and he's begging for food, and they said, "Hey, that's not what you need Jesus." And they shared Jesus with him, and he became a believer. Find what people's needs are and see if you can meet them. I sure love you guys.